President Trump was in the hospital recovering from COVID-19 this morning. The wellness director of the Baltimore County Police Department was sending out an email suggesting he deserved to contract the virus. Crime and Justice reporter Joy LaPola joins us live with this exclusive story. Joy?
Well, Mary, I want you to take a look at this image, and you can see where karma is written across the top of this baseball cap instead of Make America Great Again, seeming to suggest, at least here on paper, that the president somehow deserved to contract the coronavirus. Well, this image has now led to an internal affairs investigation within the Baltimore County Police Department.
Every Monday, members of the Baltimore County Police Department receive a Wellness Minute email. The one sent out today, ironically, had the opposite effect. So much so, the police chief, Melissa Hyatt, had to send out a direct order for all personnel to cease and desist any additional replies to that email. This is the image that stirred up so much controversy and has also led to an internal affairs investigation. The image is of a red baseball cap. It resembles the baseball cap worn by so many supporters of President Trump. But instead of saying, Make America Great Again, this hat has the word karma written across it. Within minutes of that email being sent out by the director of the department's counseling team, replies were flooding in. Jason Johnson is with the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund.
It's political commentary. It's inappropriate, and it's certainly shouldn't be transmitted on any government email.
One member of the department wrote, quote, I do not find your karma joke funny at all. In fact, I find it very disrespectful to joke about the president's health. More than 30 people replied to this email within minutes of it being sent out.
These kinds of things are polarizing and do stoke conflict.
In response to this controversy, the police chief sent out a follow-up email to members of the department that stated, quote, the incident involving the Wellness Minute email, which was sent out this morning, is being investigated and will be handled accordingly. Effective immediately, this is a direct order for all personnel to cease and desist any additional replies to that email. John Worden, who sent the email, is again the director of the Baltimore County Police Department's counseling division, a civilian whose actions this morning sent the wrong message to members of the Baltimore County Police Department.
Now, just a few minutes ago, we did receive an email from the Baltimore County Police Department. It says, in part, the Baltimore County Police Department learned of an inappropriate, politically charged email that was distributed internally this morning. The email was sent as a routine message, and the inappropriate element of that email was quickly identified, resulting in the message being recalled. The matter is currently under investigation, and any violation of policy will be addressed through the disciplinary process. This incident is not reflective of the hardworking men and women of the Baltimore County Police Department and the professionalism they exhibit every day. That statement this evening coming from Police Chief Melissa Hyatt.
Well, topping local news tonight, a closer look at the growing number of problems the city is facing. As the problems grow, city leaders are getting to work, but it's not legislation to address either of these issues that they're working on. Instead, they worked Monday approving two pieces of legislation to rename Columbus Day as Indigenous Peoples Day and change the name of a monument to honor victims of police violence.
The action is raising questions about priorities for the elected leaders in the city. Mackenzie Frost spoke with some community members today about their concerns. She begins our team coverage. Mackenzie?
Okay, and Mary, some people are celebrating the change of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, while other people are wondering when education, trash pickup, and crime reform will take a priority inside City Hall.
Houses that they tearing down and just making them lots, I feel they should rebuild so many people won't be on the street.
Lynette Long waits for the bus to pick her up and talks about the long list of concerns she has while living in Baltimore City.
This coronavirus thing, I don't know where it came from, but it's just crazy how it just up and it's here.
After the city council fast-tracked a plan to rename Columbus Day as Indigenous Peoples Day, suspending rules to quickly approve it.
And I get that we have other pressing issues going on right now, but at the same time, this is our time too.
Long says renaming a holiday doesn't help her.
There's a lot of things here that needs to be looked at instead of a statue. I mean, come on. I feel as though there's other priorities here. You know, like bettering Baltimore, don't cut the bus lines.
Transportation, trash, crime, all issues plaguing Baltimore City. And for Ruby Stotler, a senior living downtown, she says she thinks about what kind of the city the next generation has to grow up in.
Well, I have a lot of grandchildren, and I think education is important.
City councilman and our so-called mayor, get it together because Baltimore needs y'all to do more than what y'all doing.
Now, he spoke with council member Schleifer this afternoon. He tells me crime and grime is very much a priority for him inside city council, but he finds it difficult working with Mayor Jack Young's office to find solutions moving these plans forward.
More stunning findings in emails written by Baltimore City school employees. But this time, as Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains, the issues go beyond grade changing. It appears some students are just being given grades without doing any work.
Marvin Lee has been a master barber in Baltimore for nearly 40 years. It's a life he loves and loves to share. Which is why, in 2003, he began teaching barbering at Baltimore City Public Schools.
And this class here in the black is my first class.
But by his second year, Lee says he noticed something wasn't right. He says students who received a failing grade somehow ended up passing his class. Lee says he believes someone was just giving students grades to pass them along.
It's ridiculous. It's sad.
Lee spent 5 years in city schools. He left in 2008.
I actually walked away from something I had passion for, based off of the culture.
The culture, he says, was a problem back then, appears to be the same now. In 2017, Fox 45 News filed a public records lawsuit against city schools, in part over the release of emails related to grade changing. In 2019, a circuit court judge ruled North Avenue willfully and knowingly violated the law, and we received more than 8,000 emails. We showed Lee a few of them.
So I'm not shocked from this email. I was told the exact same.
The first email from 2016 is from an assistant principal at Edmondson Westside High School. It explains there are missing grades for students who entered the class late. It appears the solution was not to teach the students the material they missed. Rather, the administrator told teachers to give the student the same grade in the quarter they missed that he or she earned in the quarter that you taught them. Lee says based on his experience, that email could have been written 15 years ago when he was a teacher.
This is not surprising at all. This is normal. They tell you what to put down.
This email chain from 2016 starts with an assistant principal at Dunbar High School writing, "Any student who did not come and take a midterm exam should get a grade of 40. A school coach quickly responds, "Tell me, how does this make sense? 40? Even for a no-show?" Another teacher replies, "If my kids didn't take the exam, they get a 0, saying school leaders are trying to make the data look better. Another teacher responds, writing, "This is absolutely irresponsible and violates the integrity of the institution."
Basically, Chris, I'm telling you, all of this is just too familiar. Most of the time I was there, I was pretty much babysitting. That's what they made us. I wasn't able to really teach my course.
For 3 years, City Schools Administration has refused to interview with Project Baltimore about this lawsuit or grade changing.
Good evening, Dr. Santelisis and
Chair Kashani. In June of 2019, we even went to a school board meeting to address school leaders, but they wouldn't answer our questions. No answers?
We'll continue to reference you to our statements.
The most recent statement we received from the district reads, approximately 16 months ago, Baltimore City Schools clarified and implemented its policy and procedures for appropriate grade adjustments. We will continue to thoroughly investigate concerns per the steps listed in the updated policy.
It's about the change. We're in a time now where we're doing everything against what's right. We got smart and bright kids out here. These kids aren't, failing because they can't do it. They failing because they know they can. That's the difference.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Lee emailed Project Baltimore after seeing our reporting on grade changing inside city schools. We want to hear from you as well. Call our hotline, send us an email, and follow our progress on foxbaltimore.com. The ages of those committing and falling victim to violence here in Baltimore is alarming. Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell digging deeper into youth crime in the city. She joins us live with more on this tonight. Alexa?
Yes, Mary, some believe the juvenile justice system is simply not designed for the violent crimes we're seeing here in Baltimore.
Two teens robbing a man at gunpoint inside Patterson Park. A 14-year-old charged with murder. Another 14-year-old arrested for carjacking. Violent crimes happening here in Baltimore again and again at the hands of city youth.
Our system works pretty well to deal with juvenile delinquents, but not so much juveniles who are involved in adult-type crimes like carjackings and robberies.
And according to these statistics from the Baltimore Police Department, those are the crimes juveniles are being arrested for most. As of this past May, 84 juveniles were arrested for robbery, up from 2019, and 39 arrests were made for auto theft, also up from last year. Former Police Chief Jason Johnson believes the problem lies within the structure of the juvenile justice system.
It treats those serious offenders like the way you would treat a kid who committed a small theft or vandalism or something like that. And that's the problem.
Meaning, Johnson says, these juveniles are put right back on the street and often reoffend. City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby tells Fox 45 her office is actively working to stop young offenders from ending up in the system again.
What resources do we actually have out here for our young people?
But some nonprofits,
90% of our young people, I believe in Baltimore City, have experienced trauma.
believe the city needs to offer more resources to these youth.
You have to pour resources into their homes and into their families.
Stressing without this type of help, no real change will come.
And the latest statistics also available tonight show at least 35 juveniles have been arrested for aggravated assault.
Iconic Baltimore, but what will the city's Inner Harbor look like in the next year, 5 years, 10? Right now, the future is uncertain as more and more businesses are closing amid the pandemic. Shelley Orman joins us live with a look at how economists say, while troubling, this could also be an opportunity for the Inner Harbor and the city. Shelley?
Yes, Mary, they say with that space emptying out, there is more room than ever for change and improvement. But right now, the city's hands are tied because there are still legal hurdles that must be worked out. It's been more than a year since Baltimore's Harborplace went into receivership.
Until that's resolved, it's sort of in limbo.
There is still no public plan for what happens next.
The company that owns it or runs it still owns it, but until basically their bankruptcy is resolved, they don't have the funds to put money into it. And then the city, kind of the same thing with the city. City can't do anything with it because it's not been resolved. It's who will be the final owner of it.
The city owns the land, but not the buildings. The COVID-19 pandemic has only exacerbated what has been years in the making. The recent closures of Barnes & Noble, a 20-year tenant, and Ripley's, believe it or not, follow almost a dozen more stores and restaurants that have shut down.
This is a 40-year-old entity. You know, it sparked the renaissance for downtown Baltimore.
But outdated buildings and pavilions combined with a failing mall concept are not going to bring new life into the area.
It does need to be reimagined.
Real estate firm Rice says mall vacancies hit an all-time high of almost 10% last month. Retail experts predict a third of malls will close by next year. Towson economist Dr. Darius Arani says in order to succeed, the Inner Harbor's setup must change.
It is an opportunity for Baltimore to display what's best about Baltimore and all the things that make Baltimore and Maryland unique. We want to have that here, and we want to own that, so it doesn't feel like it's you can get it anywhere. You can only get it in Baltimore, because that makes people want to come to Baltimore.
And another key part of this is going to be bringing in city residents, because more than 40,000 people live in that area. So it's key that it appeals to both them and tourists. Now, I did speak briefly with the president of Waterfront Partnership today, which is envisioning the future of Harborplace. We are going to be speaking with her about this tomorrow.